Sorry. Weird shuffle. Welcome everyone. I am the goddess of radical self-love, and this is MECA, Make Everyone Count Always. We are a support network for radical self-love and self-care and master manifesting. Thank you so much to all of our new supporters, our new subscribers. Thank you all for your likes, thumbs up, comments, shares, and donations. Yes, thank you so much. It's so amazing to see our family keep growing. And for those of you who are helping to assist our community's most vulnerable, that's what our family does here. We support and value our community's most vulnerable care receivers and those who care for them, caregivers. Yes, we do. We know that when our community's most vulnerable and those who care for them are supported and valued, the rest of us are assured we are supported and valued as well. So we do everything we can for outreach to let them know that we're here right now supporting them and out in our communities as well. So volunteering, donating, being, doing, action-based, right? Today is Self-Transcendence Thursday, and we will be working with my boyfriend, Maslow, and towards a psychology of being. Yes, I love my boyfriend so much. He's helping me make something pretty extraordinary right now, and it is taking a lot of energy. So I apologize if I do seem a little out of sorts. I will explain in a moment after we're done with today's energy reading, which is by Esther and Jerry Hicks, Getting into the Vortex. I love the vortex. There is our card. I intend to see the best in everyone. It's perfect for today, don't you think? As always. What do you notice about this card? It's kind of interesting. Camera lens. Do they know they're there? Beautiful. You can never consistently motivate anybody to anything. But when you see the best of them and you go over to where your vision of the best of them is, outside, right? Outside perspective, take yourself out of the situation. We're looking in. Remove your emotions and your programming. See them with a fresh pair of eyes, a new perspective, right? But when you see the best of them and you go over to where your vision of the best of them is and you align with that and offer one signal now you are part of the inspiration you see. One signal. You're accepted. I value you. I'm here to support you. Have you ever had that experience yourself when someone sees you and loves you? I don't know what's wrong with me today, and expects the best of you? Do you not shine in ways you never shined before? And do you not find it really hard to shine when another does not look for the best in you? So, remember, do you find it really hard when others do not look for the best in you? What is that? Codependency, right? That's what we're trying to get away from. Sorry, my eyeball. Allergies. So, of course, we all want to be looked at for who we really are, like our value. You want people to see the light that you bring. But not everybody's going to, right? Because a lot of people are blinded by their own perception, right? Which is really programming from media, friends, family, education, right? And sometimes that programming gets in the way of them seeing others in their true nature. That's why we can't depend on others seeing that light in order to shine that light. We shine the light and are okay if no one sees it, right? I literally have been going through so much. That's why I'm like this, I guess. But I need coffee. A lot of changes at the same time, right? And there's been some drama. And I'm trying to stay outside perspective and not get too entangled in that drama. But for some reason, some people like to put me in drama. I don't know. I think maybe the universe is just testing me, and it's fine. Because, you know, I work really hard to stay in my center and not whatever. But I've been getting so many downloads because I'm working on this huge project right now for a lot of people that it will help. And sometimes when I get downloads or when I have too much negativity around me, even if I'm not in it, but people I know are in it, it can make my energy go down because I'm trying to lift them up even by not being around them or trying to facilitate healing or just trying to make relationships work. you know, where there's misunderstandings going, and it drains my energy. And I don't really necessarily want to bring that to all of you. And so I have been in a constant self-care mode for the last couple days, and during it as well, getting major downloads for this project. So it's like so much going in and so much going out at the same time. And I'm like, you know, but I feel like I want to finish this week before I take time off next week, especially because it's my last couple of days before I go on my cleanse. And, you know, I just, yeah, I love doing this for all of you. So I want to make sure that I get to do it. And I'm like, hopefully you guys aren't too upset that I'm like a different energy right now and a little, but I can't wait till I come back because I'll be all jazzed up and super excited. I already know what's going to happen. You know, that's just what happens when you can see the future. But I wanted to say before we get to my boyfriend a little bit about this too, because shit, I don't even have a copy of my own book here because I lent both copies out. So I can't show you it. But with The Snake That Never Sheds, my daughter, the Conscious Queen, she's like super amazing at all kinds of graphics and stuff for web design. And she did my book and our logos and everything. She's so cool. But it's so beautiful. And it's really what I wanted. There's a snake on the cover, but it's really more like the medical with the staff and everything. And then the medical representation, right? I don't know what it's called right now off the top of my head. So if you would like to put it in the comments for me, that would be awesome. And then on the back, it's just the reverse. And even the name of the book itself, I am going to change the cover when we get to the other publisher, but that will be a surprise. I don't want to talk about it and like, you know, ruin the surprise. But so one of my earth angels, one of our earth angels, because obviously we all share them, bought a bunch of the books and was distributing them. And someone who was really meaningful in his life, actually, who took over his father position for a while because he grew up with a lot of same issues that I did with abuse and like verbal, you know, really, really hard things to deal with. And it even went into his adult life. And so he separated that relationship, but then found kind of a replacement adoptee father in some ways, and was very, I guess this leads into yesterday's talk too, because that card yesterday was suggesting that we find our community within our churches or our religious and spiritual places where we believe. And this has been one of the issues for me that I have actually faced a good part of my life, starting when I was young. And the reason I'm talking about this on self-transcendence is those community sacred places, or should be, at times, I think they're forgetting one main thing. You know, it's really, I intend to see the best in everyone and really to do it with non-judgment, right? To step back and forget about that programming, that social programming that we all face, telling us who's not to be trusted, what signs are telling you not to be trusted, what a person looks like, or the way they believe, or the way that they love is wrong, right? Can happen in these places. And that's, for me, a very difficult thing because I grew up Catholic, right? So my first experience of the church, I'm very spiritually connected. I mean, I obviously as a conduit. But I had some major questions when I was a child, as you can imagine. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just how I've always been. I'm not sorry. That's how I've always been. I search for the truth. And I've always done that since I was a very little girl. Old enough to ask questions. Like, I don't understand this part. How do we not judge people? It says not to judge, right? We're not supposed to judge people. How do we do that and still be safe? And I really think by seeing the best in everyone, like, if you can step back out of it and use your intuition and not your emotional connection to them, but your intuition, right? Like, of purity, where if you don't even know this person, you are not allowed to make a judgment call on whether they're good or bad. And so I had some frustrations with the church when I was very young. I mean, I'm talking, well, geez, I know for sure I was in second grade, and I actually got kicked out of class a couple times because I was making an ordeal about things that were serious subjects, and they just wanted me to believe what was in the writing, but I had questions about the writing, and they said, just believe it. That's what's there. And I'm like, well, what's your version of what that says, right? And, well, the priest didn't like it, but whatever. Or whoever at the time was teaching the classes and stuff, because I made it frustrating and stopping the class all the time, whatever. I still do that now. Even in college, I did it. You know, whatever. I'm a 4.0 student, so I think asking questions is the right thing to do. Anyway, for me. So many times, though, when I would go to these religious organizations, I feel the energy in the place. I do it wherever I go, so it's not uncommon. But for me, it's such a high level of focus and one attention, and I can feel that, and like joy. So I start crying because, you know, I'm a crybaby. I cry all the time. We all know this. So everybody would always think, oh my gosh, this girl needs help. She needs to be saved. You know, like, she must feel really guilty. And it's so funny because it's like they're making judgment calls on emotions, like somebody showing their emotions, like there's something wrong with somebody showing their emotions. And I think it's like something that confuses me, because we want people to be able to have feelings, right? I mean, we don't want people to be hardened and shut off from their feelings and emotions, not to be driven by them, but we're in a place of worship. So shouldn't everybody be in a state of awe at this point? So where I'm going with this, basically, I got turned off by some of these organizations because I saw people fighting in the parking lot to exit. And I saw a lot of more capitalism being brought into it, and with stores and coffee shops and whatever, right? And I saw people like trying to leave the parking lot, racing out of there and getting mad at each other. And it just didn't make sense to me. And I'm going, are these people all faking it? Are they just here to be like, I showed up, so I'm saved, or whatever. I showed up to church on Sunday, that makes me a good person, you know? And then my daughter's in the hospital dying, and nobody shows up. A couple people, but very, very few people showed up. And there was you'll find out in my next book what happened, but which will come out in the fall. There was something huge that happened that destroyed me during this time. destroyed me completely, and I lost faith in all humanity. And the church, I went to them, and they did not support my children and myself. And they supported the others who caused the suffering. I guess that's what you would call it. And on my book, there's the snake. Okay. I got the snake that never sheds from the fact that I'm a Chinese horoscope snake. Okay. I was born in 1977. Does that make me a real snake? I mean, really? And snakes actually are wise, and they're good luck. It depends on what culture you're looking at. I mean, we use them as the medical logo. So my earth angel, who had bought all these books, went to give one to his adoptive father, right? The man he looked up to and went to for all things. I had never met him, and I was actually asked him the day before if I could go with and meet this man that he's so excited about. He goes to give him my book, and the man refuses it because there's a snake on it. And says basically that I'm evil. And so is one of our other friends, who actually also happens to be a snake in Chinese horoscope. And yeah, was so turned off by this title of the book and the logo or the picture on the book. And the thing is, like, to be honest, if you wanted to think about it with the snake, if you wanted it to represent evil, then yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I wrote the book. I was plagued by evil my entire life. Evil shit. Evil people, evil fucking actions. Sorry. And so, yeah, the snake that never sheds, meaning like it's the same person over and over again, never shedding. It could be me because not evil, but layers and layers and layers of evil thrown upon me from when I was a child. A tiny, tiny, tiny child. Like, before I could even walk, I did flips out of my crib to go get food. I didn't realize until later why everybody thought it was so cool that I could get out of my crib that way. But the only way I could get what I needed was to figure out how to get out of the freaking crib, which I was showing later. So that's why I know. It's not that I remember from when I was a little baby, but I do remember a lot from when I was really young. That's what abuse does to a person sometimes. Sometimes people forget, and sometimes people remember everything. I remember everything, which is why a lot of people were nervous about me writing. So, and I am a talented writer because, well, you literally will be put in that situation yourself. You will know how it felt to be me as that little baby and growing up. So, to me, it's like as we're transcending the self, we have to understand that there's going to be these people who continue. I am so sorry, my eyeball. I'm not actually crying. My eye is literally... Okay. There are going to be many people who have been programmed by a lot of different doctrines, and thought processes that cannot separate the person from their perception. And in order for self-transcendence to happen, we have to understand this and accept this as a common state. So we cannot get our approval, how we feel about ourselves, by anyone else. Because human beings will disappoint you. Because we're flawed. We're working together on this channel and many different resources, okay? It's not the only one, obviously. To learn how to rise above that and understand why they exist, okay? Now I am crying. I go back and forth. I went to school literally the second time. The first time I went to school to understand the conscious queen's physical ailments, right? Having a chronic disease, right? A very painful, medically intensive chronic disease, right? Because I didn't understand it. I needed to understand it. The second time I went to school was literally so I could understand the psychology involved of why people do what they do. And why societies or communities respond in the way they do. I needed answers. Jesus, sorry. I kind of knew this was going to happen today because so much going on, right? It's overwhelming. I mean, I am blessed. But it's still overwhelming. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I am supporting myself, right, through it. Self-care. Every day. Doing whatever I need. So, when I went back to school, right, the second time, it was to understand why that church wasn't supporting us, why the community was not really understanding what was going on. When my daughter came home and she's losing her fingers and toes and her hair, you know, and she has a wound vac on and she's going to school like this, I had to understand why kids were bullying her. And why the school and the parents were allowing it. I had to understand why my ex wasn't being supportive in the way I needed, right? But it was still all these outside influences that I needed. That we needed. And when I went to school, I did find answers. It actually, to be honest, I found all the answers that I needed from my entire life. I mean, like, along with my guides helping, obviously, but I understood things from such a different viewpoint. It was like all of a sudden I was the student looking in and assessing it all instead of being that person sitting there then. And this is why I'm such a huge supporter of everyone going to school. And if you've ever been through trauma, make sure you go into psychology, right? And now I just want to say, because we're going to always have those other people who are not self-transcendent. They're not looking down from a different viewpoint. They're looking from their human eyes, right? But then on the other side, we're going to meet these other amazing people. And I can't wait to share with you one of my new friends' story and her journey. I'd love to do a segment with her on here with me. She's one of our family members here on MECA, and she's just what she's shared with me and like what she's made it through. And I want to ask her if I can talk to her on here about it. Like, I'll probably talk about it tomorrow. I'm going to get her approval today so I can give you guys all the info about where she's going to be, and you guys can look her up and everything. So, you know, even though, again, you're going to face these people on one side, there are going to be so many more people on the other side that get it. And so it's so... it's worth your own fight to save yourself, to love yourself, to find radical self-love, right? So that we can transcend. Without finding your own love and your own forgiveness and compassion for yourself, you're not going to have a different view. And you're not going to be able to use those same eyes on others. You're not going to want to hear their story. And I can't believe we got that card even. Just, I can always, because that's what's supposed to happen. But it's like, so many different things are just magic moments right now. I'm like so happy I have this to record them all. You know, from the beginning, like from when I made the choice of choosing me and choosing to be the conduit so that I can help assist others, not choosing, but accepting the position, you know. But it really does lead into today's lesson from my boyfriend. So I better go into that since it's already 33333, right? Of course, it's all in threes too. So sorry. I'll get it together. Don't worry. I actually looked up how to not cry, like when you're speaking. So stupid, because I do it like automatically. Like I can't help it if I just feel things that strongly and they come out this way, right? And it was like the most memorable speeches, you know, like people want to cry. And I'm like, what the hell? How do people even understand what people are saying when they're crying, right? I mean, I guess I'm doing better at like doing both at the same time since I've had so much practice now, right? So, self-transcendence. When you're able to like view the world from that outside perspective, which is why meditation again is so important, because it trains you to do that, right? Like you don't have to stop your thoughts or feelings or whatever. Just watch them, observe them when you're in that center, right? So when you're out and about, you can use that same technique. You don't have to be as in it as you once were, where it can like drag you around one way or another, right? Like pull you to make you go into some weird reaction instead of responding. If you're in the third person perspective, watching from an outside view, you will be able to breathe, take it in, respond appropriately if you even need to. So, let's go. Yes, interpersonal psychotherapy and intrapersonal psychology. Sorry, intrapersonal psychology. Oh my goodness. I really do just need to get it together today. I guess I just needed to cry with y'all. Then I'll be good. I love you so much. Thank you for allowing me to share with you. A major characteristic of people who seek psychotherapy is a former and or present deficiency of basic need gratification. Neurosis can be seen as a deficiency disease. Because this is so, a basic necessity for cure is supplying what has been lacking or making it possible for the patient to do this himself. Since these supplies come from other people, ordinary therapy must be interpersonal. And you must know that there is something wrong to even seek it, right? So this man that pushed away my book and doesn't want our earth angel to be my friend, which you can't really do that. You can't take him away. It's divinely inspired relationship. I think he might need some psychotherapy, right? But he has to understand that he has a problem first. Yeah. But this fact has been badly overgeneralized. It is true that people whose deficiency needs have been gratified and who are primarily growth motivated are by no means exempt from conflict. You can still have conflict and be in the self-transcendence, right? Realm of our map. You know, the MECA motivational map. MECA Maslow motivational map. You can find it on Patreon. So I'll put it, the links are all in the description with the little arrow that points down. Just click on that. Everything comes up for you. It is true that people whose deficiency needs have been gratified and who are primarily growth motivated are by no means exempt from conflict, unhappiness, anxiety, and confusion. In such moments, they too are apt to seek help and may very well turn to interpersonal therapy. And yet, it is unwise to forget that frequently the problems and the conflicts of the growth-motivated person are solved by himself by turning inward in a meditative way, i.e. self-searching rather than seeking for help from someone else. Which is why right away we do our care plan at the beginning of the week, right? Because within that self-care, like a spiritual bath, right? Tub time at 9. We go within. Transformation Tuesday. Go within. I mean, meditate every day, literally, if you can find 5 minutes. I have a really good meditation app that reminds me throughout the day. I can share it if you guys want. Just make a comment and I'll let you know if you want it. And it's free. Even in principle, many of the tasks of self-actualization are largely interpersonal. such as making of plans, the discovery of self, the selection of potentialities to develop, the construction of a life outlook. So within yourself, right? You're having a conversation within yourself, your higher self, what to do. Here's the options. What do we choose? You know? In the theory of personality improvement, a place must be reserved for self-improvement and self-searching, contemplation, and meditation. In the later stages of growth, the person is essentially alone and can rely only upon himself, which I've told you guys, this process is lonely at times. But it's because you understand that you're the one who you turn to now for the answers, right? You can't rely on others for what needs to come from within. Especially when it has something to do like with your passion, your goals, your desires. It's very difficult to go to somebody else to ask, because you're going to say, they might be talking and you'll say, oh wait, I got it, never mind. Or you'll sit there and listen and they have no idea what you're talking about. You know, like they just don't get it from where you are, because it's innate within you. You have to go within to get those answers. This improvement of an already well person, Oswald Schwartz has called, I wrote it down, psychogojoji. So it's an improvement on an already well person. So you're out of your deficiency needs, right? You're in your growth needs, which never stop, right? And so you are constantly reaching higher ascension or dimensions or whatever you want to call it, right? Psychogojoji. If psychotherapy makes sick people not sick and removes symptoms, then psychogojoji takes up where therapy leaves off and tries to make not sick people healthy. I was interested to notice in Rogers that successful therapy raised the patient's average score from the 25th to the 50th percentile. Who shall then lift him to the 75th percentile? Or the 100th? I volunteer. And are we not likely to need new principles and techniques to do this with? Yes, we are, and I have some. Well, they were downloads. It's not me. I'm not taking credit. Even if you see my picture on shit, it wasn't me. So, yeah, I'm just going to do one more and then we'll leave off there. So, well, I'm going to put this here because I keep on forgetting where we leave off and I'm just like, get so mad at myself. Like, then I have to search through everything. Because it's going to be, what? Yeah, 2 weeks till we do it again. So is that. So, Instrumental learning and personality change. So-called learning theory in this country has based itself almost entirely on deficient motivation. Deficient motivation with goal objects usually external to the organism, i.e., learning the best way to satisfy a need. For this reason, among others, our psychology of learning is a limited body of knowledge useful only in small areas of life and of real interest only to other learning theorists. This is of little help in solving the problem of growth and self-actualization. So all we've focused on is the deficiency needs, basically, right? Unless you get into like higher education sometimes, or like following your dreams, passion, goals, and desires, then you're going to do the work yourself. But what he's saying is like, there's not like, you don't go to psychotherapy, right? You don't go see a therapist to get a healthy person even healthier, more successful, pure, whatnot, right? Like my nose is itching so bad right now. And this is of little help in solving the problem of growth and self-actualization. Here, the techniques of repeatedly acquiring from the outside world satisfactions or motivational deficiencies are much less needed. Associative learning and canalizations give way more to perceptual learning, to the increase of insight and understanding, to knowledge of self, and to the steady growth of personality, increased synergy, integration, and interconsistency. So when somebody figures out, let's say, they're not in deficiency needs, now let's say they're in their lower ego, right? They're still getting their needs met from the outside world, right? Like codependency, right? So they're of a giving nature, but they're still not understanding radical self-love. So it's not coming from a place of purity out, it's coming still from outside in. That would still be a deficiency need, I guess. So how can I say this differently? Because like the ego part has two different levels. There's the lower ego and the higher ego, just like there's the lower heart chakra and the higher heart chakra, right? Once we get up to, let's say, self-actualization, where we're following our dreams, passion, goals, and desires, and expressing that to others, that's great. But how can we turn that into actually supporting others, right? And seeing how we're all one, like where we fit within the world, but doing it at what we love, having our talents and gifts actually be utilized by others for good, right? So increase synergy, integration, and interconsistency, right? Change becomes much less an acquisition of habits or associations one by one, and more of a total change of the total person. A new person rather than the same person with some habits added, like new external possessions. So you become literally a totally different person. I'm a totally different person than I was when you find radical self-love, when you're self-actualized, when you're self-transcendent. Like the old you is just wiped out. I totally couldn't do any of this, like, let's say 4 years ago. I would have been like so worried about what everybody else thought. And I would have been like, how many subscribers do we have or whatever? I have no idea how many we have. Because I just do this. This is what I do. Like, I see if there's comments so that I can comment back, but I'm not really interested in the numbers like that, because if I'm only helping one person, that's all I care about. I'm helping me. And then if I'm helping you, that's even a bigger plus, right? Because that's really what I want to do, is help me plus one. And if there's more that follow after that, then that's awesome, right? But it's just me and the plus one. That's all I care about, just one. So, this kind of character change learning means changing a very complex, highly integrated, holistic organism, which in turn means that many impacts will make no change at all, because more and more such impacts will be rejected as the person becomes more stable and more autonomous. Yes, can't take me out of the center is what I wrote next to that. You can't take me out of my center. The more drama that goes on around me, the more I will work on my self-care. The more drama you bring by me, the more I will X you out of my life. Like, no. Life is a buffet, as Esther and Jerry Hicks have told me. And you get to choose what you want. Well, I only want the most yummy stuff. I don't give a shit about the crap I don't like that has gluten in it. No. I'm going to take all the stuff that doesn't have gluten in it. You know, you have a choice. You can sit with the ick and get drawn into it, or you can do the work and center. It's all about you and your peace of mind, right? So I'm a totally different organism now. Before, that would draw me into it, and I'd become all icky too, and I'd start fighting, and I'd start wondering, why me? Instead of going, I see what's going on. It's another test. I get it. It's just a test of the emergency heart cath system, of the emergency radical self-love system. And this says, I am not going to take that shit. I'm going right here where I'm peaceful. Peaceful and loving. Yes. The most important learning experiences reported to me by my subjects were very frequently single life experiences, such as tragedies, deaths, traumas, conversations, and sudden insights, which forced change in the life outlook of the person and consequently in everything that he did. As I have said many times, people who have been through trauma, right, or at any of these situations, and are care receivers and or caregivers, because they understand the care receivers, right? They're forced into this different way of perceiving the world, or finding answers, finding truths, right? So it's almost like they end up getting superpowers. That's how I like to say. I have superpowers because I went through hell and back to get them several times. So, moving on. And I know many of you do too, obviously. I'm just going to read it one more time because it's so profound, and I say it all the time. The most important learning experiences reported to me by my subjects were very frequently single life experiences, such as tragedies, deaths, trauma, conversations, and sudden insights, which forced change in the life outlook of the person and consequently in everything that he did. Of course, the so-called working through of the tragedy or of the insight took place over a longer period of time, but this, too, was not primarily a matter of associative learning. Well, in some cases it can be, because like I said, when I went through that period where I broke up with my higher self and my guides and everything, right? It wasn't very long, and lost faith in all humanity. I was showing why my life was the way it was, why I was showing my past life, and then I was showing this life, and I was showing why it was the way it was, what my position here was supposed to be, what I needed to do next, right? And then we made up. But when I went back to school for the second time, right, while my daughter was still recovering at home and whatnot, and I was raising my 3 sons as well with my ex, it gave me answers from that higher perspective, the outside view, that third person observation, instead of being right in it. Although I wasn't as adept at centering at that time, because I wasn't really working on myself, my core, as much. I was only working on my, right? So if I would have been combining them, it probably would have been a lot better for me, like easier internally, but whatever. To the extent that growth consists in peeling away inhibitions and constraints and then permitting the person to be himself, to emit behavior radioactively, as it were, rather than to repeat it, to allow his inner nature to express itself. To this extent, the behavior of self-actualizers is unlearned, created and released rather than acquired, expressive rather than coping. Yes. So obviously I had other students with me in school, and I would say there were a couple, definitely a couple, who understood why I was so focused, right? Why when an instructor asked me to write a 4-page paper, I'd write a 40-page paper, right? So I took something that was supposed to be so simple, right? And I made it into something that changed who I was every time, because I could grow and break out of my old thought patterns, right? So that's it for today. Yes, we're going to have Freaky Friday tomorrow, and my girl that she just is leaving me a message right now, so I'm going to talk to her about talking about Freaky Friday tomorrow, and giving you all her information, because she is so, yeah, I told her she's on my list now, like my bucket list of who I need to meet for sure, and I definitely bow to her. She is one pretty amazing person who's made it through so much. So if you all can stay tuned for tomorrow, so I can give you her update, and tell you a little bit about her. It will be worth it, I promise. So let's rock it out. Thank you all for being here today with me. I love you all so much. Thank you to my boyfriend Maslow. Thank you all so much for many, many blessings. Yes, all our guides. Blessings upon blessings upon blessings for you. Spiritual protection for you. Family for you. We're all here together as one. Happy Self-Transcendence Thursday, y'all. Mwah. Oneness. Ciao, ciao for now.